Hello and welcome to my channel, Distinct Crochet. My name is Priscilla and I would like to thank all my new subscribers for coming to check me out and all my returning subscribers for spending some time with me. And if this is your first time here on this channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and that way you won't miss out on any of my awesome content. Alright, so today I'm here to share with you a tutorial for my kimono style 2-circle shrug. This is a crochet pattern and I am very excited to share it with you all today. Alright, so I am wearing the one that I made in my tutorial, and I used the Caron spice cake, the Caron cakes in the color spice cake. This is a number 4 medium worsted weight yarn, so you could use any 4-weight yarn. A variegated color works well also. If you do get the cakes though, I would recommend you get the centers to match, so that way you can start off in the same way. That works best for how this tutorial is worked up, how this piece is worked up. But you could also, if you don't have matching cakes, the matching centers, you could also cut where you need to be to start at the same place if you want. You might need extra cake of yarn just in case the colors don't run the way. So if that happens, it would be good to have 3 cakes on hand, but I don't believe it will take that much yarn. I used 2. I didn't use 2 full cakes, so I just used the 2 cakes for the purpose of getting the colors to match on each side. There was a little bit left in each, so I would recommend between 600 to 800 yards for the whole project, depending on the size that you're making. Of course, if you're making a larger size, you will need a bit more. And I also used this is a Burnett in the color black, so it's also a number 4-weight yarn. And I used a 9mm hook for this project, and that just gives it a lighter weight texture than what the number 4-weight yarn will actually usually give, using the recommended hook size for that. So that is why I wanted to use such a large hook, because this is the stitch that we're using is a tighter stitch, and so when you use a larger hook, it opens it up and allows it to drape a little bit more. Alright, so I was mentioning that you could use variegated yarn instead of the cake yarn, and I have an example here of one that I made previously, and this is using some variegated yarn. I believe this is, I'm not for sure the colorway, but this is a Michael's brand yarn. It is the Impeccable, and one of their variegateds, and then a solid to match. And so what you do is you are going to start on the sleeve part here, and then you're going to work the sleeve all the way up until you get to this part here, and then you'll go back and make the other sleeve in the same way. And then once you get that part done, we will join it, we'll join the 2 sleeves together as we're working the back. Okay, so I will definitely show you how you do that in the tutorial, so no worries about that. And then once you have that joined, then we go around the whole piece to put a border on, and it gives it just a little bit more length as you work around the border. Alright, so it is very simple, quick project to work up. I believe I did the tutorial for this one. I actually worked 1 sleeve and then I finished the rest of it in a day, so it would only really take 2 days to make it, depending on how much time you have to spare. But yeah, it's definitely a quick make, and you could have one in a weekend for sure. Alright, so I really think you all will like this tutorial, so thank you so much for coming along with me. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think? Have you made one? I want to know all of that. And you could also send me pictures of your finished items in an email. I'll have my email in the description box below. I would love to see what colors you decided to use, and how you enjoyed your piece. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the tutorial so that you can go ahead and work one of these gorgeous pieces up for yourself. And I will share the finished pics at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that as well. Alright, so thanks so much for coming along with me, and let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. For this tutorial, you will need a 9mm crochet hook, pair of scissors, measuring tape, yarn needle, 5 stitch markers, and optional you can get a button, but it needs to be large enough not to go through one of the holes in the crochet item. Also, we will be using carrying cakes. You need to have at least 2 matching centers, and if not, then a third one will be helpful to color control. Here are the specs for the yarn that I am using. I am also using a contrast color in black, and that way it really makes it pop. And it's also a number 4 worsted weight yarn. In total, I am using about 600 to 800 yards. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and make a slip knot, and you can make yours however you like. Alright, so what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and chain up 2, and right here in the back bump of this chain, I'm going to go ahead and work my stitch. Alright, so we want to yarn over first since we're doing a half double crochet, and then we want to insert our hook into that back bump. Okay, now we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now this bottom loop here is the loop that we are going to, that will become the chain, which will be the base of our half double crochet. Alright, so let's go ahead and yarn over and pull through that chain to make a, that loop to make a chain. Alright, so that is the chain for our stitch, and this is the chain that we'll be working into to make the next stitch. So if you need to place a stitch marker there, and that way you won't lose it when we make the next stitch, go ahead and do so. If this is new to you, that might be helpful. Alright, but now since we have made our chain, we are ready to finish off our half double crochet. So all we have to do now is yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to finish off our stitch. Okay, so we have that base chain there and our half double sitting right on top. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is make our next stitch. So first we have to yarn over and work into that chain. So we're going to go through both loops of that chain there that we just made. Okay, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through to make a loop. Alright, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through that loop to make a chain. Okay, and now we are going to pull through all 3 to finish off our half double crochet. So now we have 2 half double crochet foundation stitches. Alright, so we're going to continue on in this manner. So go ahead and yarn over, and then we're going to go into our chain, previous chain, insert our hook under both of those loops, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through to make a chain, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 to finish our stitch. Alright, so once you have all of your foundations made for the size that you're working, then go ahead and meet me back and I will show you what to do next. Alright, so I made it back and I have the number of chains needed for my size. I am doing a large size, so I have 60 foundation stitches, and now I am ready to join them into a ring. Alright, so you just want to make sure that it's not twisted in any way, and I have this is the wrong side of the stitch, so here's the right side, so this is the wrong side of the stitch, so I have that facing up, and then I'm just going to bring them together. Okay, so I'm not going to slip stitch to join. I'm going to work in the 3rd loop of the half double crochet. So when you do that first yarn over for your half double crochet, that is what makes the 3rd loop. So if you look here on the top, we have our front loop, our back loop, and then if we turn it a little bit more, you see this 3rd loop right there. Okay, and that is the loop that we want to go into. So on the top we have our front, back, and then the 3rd. Okay, so that is the loop that we want to join into, and we are going to work in continuous rounds. So we will not be slip stitching to join with each round. We will just work the next stitch in the third loop. Okay, so we need to do our half double crochet into the third loop. So we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to go right into that loop, first, second, third. And sometimes I use my nail just to slip it on there, and then I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through, pull through all three. Okay, and then that joins us into the round. Now what I want to do is I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to grab a stitch marker, and then that will allow me to mark this as my first stitch of my round. And that's important because we're not joining with the slip stitch, so it might be a little harder to figure out which one is your first stitch. Alright, so go ahead and grab a stitch marker and mark that first stitch. Now we're going to go ahead and continue on working in the third loop. So now I will go ahead and do the same thing. So it's really easy if you just, normally we're used to going in the top of our stitches, so just tilt it towards you just a little bit, and then you can see that third loop right there. All right, so you have the front, the back, and the third. Okay, so just tilt it towards you a little bit, and then it's right there. It's really, really easy to work into. So yarn over and go ahead and insert into that third loop, and then yarn over and pull through all three to finish off your half double crochet stitch. All right, so we're just going to continue on in that manner all the way around until we get to our beginning stitch, and we'll just work in the third loop of that next round as well. Okay, so I'm just going to do a few more on camera, and then I will go ahead and finish mine off camera and come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so let's just do one more. So you have that front, back, tilted towards you, and there's the third. All right, so go ahead and continue on all the way around working in that third loop, and then I will be back to show you what to do next. All right, so I have made it all the way back around, and as you can see, here's my stitch marker. So that is the first stitch that I made. So now I'm going to go ahead and work in that third loop. Okay, so we have the top two, the front and the back, and then we tilt it, and there's our third. All right, so just to go start on the next round, I'm going to go work right into there, finish my half double, and then I'm going to move up my stitch marker. This is very important. You definitely want to keep track of your first stitch of the round. Okay, so go ahead and move up your stitch marker, and you want to continue on in this manner until this until the width of this measures between 6 to 7 inches. All right, so this portion here is going to be the sleeve of the shrug, and since it is for spring, I don't want it to be too long, and it is you know, a wider sleeve, so you don't want it to be too long down your arm, not really reaching past your elbow. So about 6 to 7 inches is a good length to work up the sleeve portion. Okay, I believe I did mine ended up at 6.5. all right, so I'm going to continue working up mine until I get that 6.5. And once I reach that point, I will come back and show you what to do next. So go ahead and work on yours. Just remember to continue working in that third loop, your half double crochets, and also remembering to move up your stitch marker as you go along with each round. All right, so I will meet you right back when I have mine done. All right, I made it back, so I have it, and it's measuring at about around 6.25, so that's pretty good. I did have to frog back a row because it was too long, so just make sure you count how many rows. That's what I did. I went back and I counted how many rows I had, and I did 12 rows on the other one, and I had done 13 on this one, so I had to pull one back. So just make sure you make a note of how many rows you did on this, because you're going to be doing the same process for the other sleeve, and then that way you can have matching rows, because sometimes our tension does change a little bit depending on if we pick up our work a different day or so. So just make sure you make a note of your rows, and that way they'll be even on the same on both sides. All right, so the next thing, now that we have the sleeve part done, the next thing we're going to be doing is working up the body. So you want to go ahead and grab 2 more stitch markers, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making some increases. So I made it all the way back to the beginning of my round, and I'm already in my first stitch here, and I did make a stitch in that one, but we're going to be increasing in this stitch. So what you want to do is you want to make a total of 3 stitches in this very first stitch of the round. All right, so I made 1 already, so I'm going to go ahead and make another one, and this is the middle stitch. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to go ahead and put another stitch mark or a stitch marker in this middle stitch, because that is the stitch we're going to be increasing in. All right, so I have that stitch marked now, and now I'm going to make my 3rd stitch. Okay, so I have 3 stitches all into that 3rd loop of our very first stitch in the round. All right, so that is our first increase, and now what we're going to do is we are going to count over. I am working the large size, so I have a total of 60 stitches, so I'm going to go ahead and work until I get to stitch number 31. So this is stitch 1 here, and then by the time I get to stitch 31, I want to increase, or I can count to stitch 30, and then in the stitch 31 is where I want to make my other increase. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now if you're working the small size, then you would be, of course, everyone is going to increase in the first stitch. If you're doing the small size, then you'll work until you get to stitch 25, and then in that next stitch you'll go ahead and put your increases. And then if you're working the size 2X, then you'll want to go ahead and increase in your first stitch, and then go ahead and let me see, I think it's 35 stitches. So you want to work until you get to stitch 35, and then increase in the 36th stitch. So I will have those numbers on the screen for you to check them out. And now we're just going to go ahead and work. So I'm just going to count over until I get to stitch 30. Okay, so that's stitch 30 there. So now in the very next stitch, I want to do my increases. So I'm going to put 3 stitches into this one stitch. So here's the first one, and now the second stitch, I'm going to go ahead and put another stitch marker, because that is where I'm going to make my increases the next time I have to increase. Okay, so I'm going to mark that, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in that third stitch. And now I'm just going to continue around until I get to the beginning of the round. And when you come back to the beginning of the round, go ahead and meet me there, and I will show you what to do next. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so I made it back, and I am at my first stitch again. So actually what we're going to do now is we are going to go ahead and remove this beginning of the round stitch marker, because what's going to happen is where we put our first increase, that is going to now be our beginning of the round. Okay, so just go ahead and work into that stitch. All right, and then work into your next stitch, and then go ahead and move your marker up. So we are not going to increase every round, we're going to increase every other round, but you definitely want to make sure where you're putting your increases are in the same spot. And the best way to do that is to make sure you move your stitch marker up with each round. Okay, so I always pause and go ahead and move up my stitch marker. And so now I'm just going to continue on this round, just working 1 in each stitch, no increases for this round, and then I will meet you back on the beginning of the next round and show you what to do next. Okay, so just keep working all the way around. Remember to move up that second stitch marker when you get to it, and I will meet you right back. Okay, so I made it back around again, and I am at this first stitch marker, and now what we're going to do is we're going to increase on this round. So we do want to go ahead and place 3 stitches into the third loop of this first stitch. So I am going to go ahead and do my first one, and then my second one I'll pause and put in my stitch marker, move my stitch marker up. It always goes into that second stitch of the 3. Okay, so that makes it the middle stitch, and then I'm going to put my third one in. Okay, just like that, and now I'm going to continue on and do the same thing when I get to the second stitch marker. All right, so what you're going to do now is you're pretty much going to repeat the last 2 rounds. So we're going to finish this increase round, and then the next round will just be a plain round with no increases, and then you'll continue back and forth between those 2 rounds until your piece measures. I'll have them on the screen as well, but until your piece measures, if you're doing a small, 6 inches from your sleeve stitches. So right where we start the increases at, that is the difference between the sleeve stitches and the body stitches. So once your piece measures 6 inches from that for the small size, 8 inches for the large size, and 10 inches for the 2X, then that is what you are going to then that is when you will stop there. Okay, so I am going to continue to work mine, and then I will meet you back when I have it done. All right, so let me see. Yes, you can also try it on. You just want to make sure that you have a nice sleeve length, and that the top of the so the increases will be like this. So this is your first stitch marker, so you can see how it's already going up. So this is your arm, your sleeve, and then this is going to go up your arm to your neck. So you want to make sure that this is like touching your neck, and then the sleeve length is falling where you would like it as well. And that's how you know how long it needs to be. Okay, so I did give some measurements for you all to use as a guide, but of course try it on and see how it fits on you, because that's the best way you will be able to get it to fit the way you like, as if you try it on and then make adjustments as needed. All right, so I am going to go ahead and continue working those 2 rounds. I'm going to finish this increase round, and then when I come back around, I'll just do a plain and then go back and forth between those 2 rounds until I get my 8 inches for my size. Okay, so go ahead and continue on with yours, and then I will meet you back when I have that done. All right, and I made it back. So I finished my increases. So if I go to my first increase is, so my first increase is right here. So I want to take my measuring tape and go from there to here, kind of on the angle as it is increasing, and then I get 8 inches. So that is the measurement that you want to take for yours. If you're doing the small size, you should have 6 inches. If you're doing the 2X, you should have 10 inches. Okay, so that is how you want to measure that section. So if you haven't quite reached where you want to be at just yet, go ahead and continue on, and then you can come back till you get there. If you have reached it, then you're ready to go on to the next step. All right, and also, like I said, you can try it on and just make sure that this part is touching your neck, and then this part is falling on your arm for the sleeve length as you like. All right, so that is another way to check that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and pull in our contrast color, and I am going to be using black, so it's not going to be you know, easy to see the stitches exactly, but I'm just doing the same thing, so it's no big deal. So all you really want to do is you just want to work 1 round plain. You're not going to do any more increases, so you just want to work 1 round plain in your contrast color, whatever color you decide to use. And then once you have that 1 round of contrast color in, we are going to start working on the back, and I'll show you how to do that. So just really quickly, I'll just show you how to change color, which is very, very easy. So I'm just going to, I actually worked up to my last stitch, or right before the first stitch in the round. So I'm just gonna pull that out really quickly. And so on this last stitch, all you want to do is you just want to go in like you're doing your regular half double crochet, and then pull up that loop. And then what you're going to do is you're going to drop that yarn, and you're going to pick up your new color, and then you're just going to draw through all 3, and that gets you set up to start the round with your new color. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and continue on with the half double in the 3rd loop, and I'm going to go ahead and move up my stitch marker. Oops. Alright, so then I'm just going to go ahead and continue on working in this manner until I get back to the beginning of the round. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead on the round, and then when I have mine done, I will meet you back. Alright, and I made it back, so I have made it right back to the stitch right before my first stitch. And I did forget to mention that you can go ahead and cut your main color. You just want to leave a nice tail so that you can weave it in later. And I'm going to go ahead and cut mine now because I didn't do that earlier. So we're just going to be working with our contrasting color for right now. And what we're going to do is we are going to continue on working in the 3rd loop, half double crochets through the 3rd loop all the way down till we get to the other stitch marker. When you get to the other stitch marker, meet me back and I will show you what to do next. Alright, so just go ahead and half double in that first stitch, and then you can go ahead and move your marker up. Okay, and then just continue till you get to that second stitch marker. All right. Oops. So I will meet you back when I have made it down to my other stitch marker. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, and I made it back, so I went ahead and moved up my stitch marker into that last stitch. So now what I'm going to do is chain 2, and the chain 2 does not count as a stitch, so we're just going to chain 2 and turn, and then we are still going to half double in the third loop. But now, since we're working in rows instead of rounds, the third loop is going to be in the front instead of on the back. So we have our top stitch here, we have the 2 loops of the top stitch, and then when we look at it straight on, we have our third loop right in front of us. Okay, so we're just going to yarn over and insert our hook into that third loop there, and yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, so here is the third loop of the next stitch. So that is right there, right in front. So you're just going to yarn over and pull through. Okay, so that is what it's looking like so far. All right, so you're just going to continue this all the way down till you get to your other stitch marker, and then when you get there, you're going to chain 2 and turn, and you're going to keep doing that until you get the length that you need for your size. Okay, I did 5 rows on my other one, so I'm going to do 5 rows on this as well, and that gave me a length of about 10 inches starting from the sleeve. So when you measure from wherever your first increase is, so when you measure from there to here, you want to make sure that you're getting about 10 inches, and that's how you know when you have enough, and that is for the large size. So I will have let me see, gotta find my first increase. Okay, it's right here, so I still have a little bit to go, but I think I did 5 rows on the other one, and that is what got me to where I needed to be. So if you are doing the small size, you need it to be 8 inches. When you measure from the sleeve to here, you need 8 inches, and then for the 2X you need at least 12 inches. Okay, and I got these numbers based on bust circumference. So if you are the smaller size, this should give you, it will measure at a bust circumference of about 32 inches. Okay, and that's like for the small medium size. So you're definitely welcome to add more on to this if you like. If you want it to be a little bit more baggy and slouchy, you can definitely do that. Just keep in mind the length from here to here is going to be a quarter of your bust measurement. So for example, by me having 10 inches from here to here, on the other side, because we're going to make the exact same thing when we finish this one, and then we'll put them together. Okay, and so this is going to give me 10 inches, and then the other one will give me 10 inches, which will give me 20 inches for the back. So if we were to complete that all the way around, that would be a total of 40 inches. So hopefully that makes sense, but that is kind of where I'm getting my numbers from. So so hopefully that will help you to make this fit better for you. So if you are doing the small size and you think 32 is not enough, you want to be a little more slouchy, then go ahead and maybe add on another inch or 2, whatever you like. All right, and the same for the larger size. If you want it a little smaller or larger, then go ahead and make those adjustments as necessary. All right, so hopefully that will help you determine where it is that you need to stop. But like I said, I'm going to keep going until mine measures 10 inches from where my first increase is, or where the sleeve ends, out to here. All right, and what we're doing is we are working in that third loop, which is now in the front of us since we are doing rows. And then once we get down to our stitch marker, we're going to move our stitch marker up, chain 2, turn, and then do the same thing. Okay, so whatever side you're working on, when you're working in rows, the third loop will be in the front. So when you turn, it's going to be on the front as well. All right, so I can show you here. So here, see how I turned, and now you see that third loop right there in the front. So that is what you will be looking for when you get to the other stitch marker and turn. All right, so just keep working your rows, and then when I have mine the right length, I will come back and show you what to do next. All right, and I made it back, so I have completed the rows needed for the back. And if I go there and let me see, I think my first, what's my first increase? I think it's this one right here, this one. So yep, that's measuring right about 10 inches there. So that is where I need to be for mine. So if you have made it there, then if this is your first piece, then you need to go ahead and finish off and leave a 6 to 8 inch tail of your contrast color, and then you need to go back to the beginning of the video and go ahead and start the process all over again for the second part of this. Okay, so you need to have 2 of these. All right, so if this is your second time making this, then and you have both pieces, then you're gonna want to go ahead and continue watching so you can see what to do next. But here is my second piece here. All right, so what you want to do is you want to join these together. Make sure you keep your yarn attached. So what we're going to do is we are going to use our crochet hook to go ahead and seam these together if this is your second panel that you have made. All right, so like I said, leave your yarn attached, and all we're going to do is match up the back 2 pieces. Let me see, I think I need to go this way. We have piece number 1 and piece number 2 with the yarn attached. So all I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and pick up the I'm going to pick up the inside loops of each one. So it's the back loop on the first panel and then the front loop on the second panel. Then I'm just going to yarn over and pull through for a slip stitch join. Okay, so it is the back loop of the first panel and then the front loop of the second, and then just slip stitch that together. Okay, so you want to do this kind of loose so that you don't pull the stitches too tight where it starts to pucker. Just a nice even tension. That is why I'm still using my larger hook. That'll definitely help with that. And I'm just going to continue in that way all the way down, and each stitch should be nice and matched up with the other from the other panel. Alright, so that is pretty much all I'm going to do for this step here. And once you finish, you're just going to connect it till you get all the way down to the other stitch marker, which is right here. So once you have those all the way joined together, then go ahead and meet me back and I will show you what to do next. And also make sure you keep your yarn attached because we're going to keep using the yarn as well. All right, so I will meet you back as soon as I have my stitch together. Okay, and I made it back. So at this point I have finished all the way down with my slip stitches. So now both pieces are joined together. So at this point you want to leave your yarn attached, but I would suggest that you go ahead and try it on and make sure that it's fitting across your back comfortably. If it's not, it's really easy just to take this apart and add a few more rows of this, and of course you want to do that to each side equally. So if you add 2 more rows to one side, add 2 more rows to the other side. Okay, and you definitely want to try it on at this point, because then that will allow you to fix it how you want it to fit. Okay, if it is a little too big, you can do the same thing. Just tear this seam out and then maybe take out a row or 2 from each side. But go ahead and try it on and make those adjustments now before you move on. But I did try mine on and it fits really, really nice. So I am ready to move on to the next step. And what we're going to be doing now, and what we're going to be doing now is we are going to go ahead and do an edging. So this is going to add a little bit of length to the shrug, and you can do as much or as little as you like. I do want a nice thick edge on mine, so I'm not for sure how many rows that's going to be at this point, but I'm just going to go ahead and get you started, and then you can make as many rows as you like. All right, or many rounds as you like, because we are going to be working in the round. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to just work half double crochets. So as you can see, there's no really good place to work into at this point. So we do want to do 1 round of half double crochet so that we have some nice stitches to work into, and then we will be doing some decreasing for our neck so that we have a top and a bottom, and that the shrug fits around our neck a little bit more comfortably. So that is what we're going to be doing now. We're just going to go ahead and work a plain round of half double crochets, and into this space here you can probably just work 1 half double crochet. Maybe in this big space I'll probably put 2 just to even it out a little bit, but the stitch count doesn't really matter at this point. As long as it's fitting when you tried it on, it should be okay. I don't think 1 or 2 stitches is going to throw it off too terribly. I am just going to chain up 1 so that I can get a height here. And on this first stitch I am going to go ahead and put a stitch marker in so that I know where I started at. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this stitch marker out and put it here. At this point this is only the stitch marker that we need, so if you've made all of your changes and you're ready to move on, you're welcome to take out the other stitch markers if you like. I'll probably just take mine out when I'm ready to weave in my ends and finish off the project. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and work half double crochets across this edging here, and whoops, I think I'm going to go into here. As I was saying, there's not really any specific spot, but see how this is so gappy. I'm going to pick up a strand of yarn here, so I'm not putting too much stress on this space. All right, so that's what it's looking like there, and then I'm just going to keep going across so that it's nice and even. Let's see if I can pick up another strand of yarn there. Okay. Alright, so I'll add 1 more here. And then now I'm back working into the regular half doubles. So I want to continue working in the 3rd loop, and since we're back in the round again, it is going to be on that back side there. So go ahead and half double crochet into that 3rd loop, and you're going to continue this all the way around. Since the whole piece is joined, it's like we're going to be working in continuous, we'll be working in rounds, rather not continuous rounds, but we will be working in rounds. They may be continuous, but I need to work out some decreases that we'll be doing, so we'll see when we get there. But for right now, once you have made it across this top edge here and you get along here, you're just going to continue to work half double crochets all the way around the whole piece. So all the way around that first part, and this will be on the inside. So where we had that one round of the contrast color, now we're going to be making that a little bit thicker or a little bit wider. So now we're just going to continue that, and then you'll be at the bottom here of the shrug, and then this is where we'll have to work out just half double crochet evenly across the bottom as well, and then you'll be back into your regular half double crochet stitches where you can work in the third loop, and then you'll come all the way back around, and then you'll have to work some across here until you get to your stitch marker here. Okay, so once you have that done, then you're just going to go ahead and meet me back, and I'll show you what to do next. All right, so go ahead and work one round of half double crochet all the way around, and I'll meet you back when we get to our beginning stitch marker. All right, and I made it back to my stitch marker here where I started. So this is going to be the top of my shrug. So this is going to be like where my neck area is going to go, and that is a little bit wide, so I'm just going to go ahead and decrease. Now since this is the beginning of my round, I'm just going to work about 3 decreases on this side, and then once I go all the way around and come back up on this side, I'm also going to work 3 decreases between here and where the round ends. That way it's nice and even on both sides. And then once I do that, I'll try it on just to make sure it's not too small, and then I'll go from there to see if I need any more decreases or not. And I suggest you do the same thing as well, because I don't really have an amount of an exact amount of how much you should decrease, but just something that feels nice and comfortable for you. So the best way to do that is just to try it out, and then see if you need to do more decreases or maybe take some away. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and work in continuous rounds. So I'll go ahead and do a half double in that first stitch, and then move my marker up, and then I'm going to do a decrease. So yarn over, go into that third loop, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, go right into the next third loop and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all of those. Okay, so that's a decrease, and then I'll do a regular half double, and then I'll go ahead and do another decrease in the same way. Then I'll work another half double, and then I'll just do my last decrease here. Okay, so you can see how that brought that in just a little bit better, so it's a little bit more snug around the neck area. And then when I come back around, I'll do the same decrease on this side as well. Okay, so but for this the rest of the way around, you're just going to go ahead and work into that third loop of that half double crochet that you established from working those half doubles on that round we just finished. And so just work that all the way around, and remember to do your other decreases when you come on this side, and then I'll meet you back when I get to the stitch marker. All right everyone, and I made it back. So I did go ahead and do the other 3 decreases, and that was enough for me. So I just did a total of 6 decreases at the neck, and that made it very comfortable for me. So from there I just worked I believe it was a total of 7 rounds, just going around and around, and I got this wide band here, and it does help to close up the center, and it looks really beautiful. And I am thinking I probably put a button to close it up, and because of these holes are so big, if I find the right size button, I won't even need to worry about a buttonhole. I can just sew it on, and then I can just go ahead and pull that over the button. So you are more than welcome to do that as well if you like. But all I have to do now is just go ahead and finish off and cut my yarn, and then I'm going to sew in all of my ends, and then I'll be back to try it on and show you guys what it looks like. Alright, but that's pretty much the end of this tutorial here. So please let me know what you think of this super cute shrug, and I am very happy and excited to share it with you all. Please also remember to leave this video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, you can leave those down below as well, and I will do my best to help. Alright, so thank you again for tuning in. Remember to stay tuned for the reveal of what it looks like, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.